Hello everybody, welcome back to Life Stories. My name is Trent, and it's good to be back. Was on a little bit of a hiatus there, and I want to thank my pal Jesse for taking over while I was gone. His channel will be accessible with a link in the description. But today, I'm taking back over, and we got more stories coming at you from Reddit/idontworkherelady. So, you know how it always goes around here. Let's get started. Our first story is titled, Got Kicked Out of Wallmart for Defending a Cashier. Not too sure if this belongs on here, but hopefully you enjoy. Also, it has a bit of a wholesome ending, so please enjoy. If this is lucky enough to be picked up by any YouTubers, please feel free to use it. Oh, well, I guess it is lucky. The year was 2014 in Calgary, Alberta at the beginning of November. The first major snowstorm had blown in and deposited a good amount of snow. Our company truck had blown a tire, and for insurance purposes, the bunch of rednecks in the truck, myself included, were not allowed to change it. So, we took it to our wonderful Wally World to get the tire changed. We waited patiently in the waiting area so we could get back to work. During this time, an irate customer, who shall henceforth be known as IC, was tearing into the poor associate, known as PA, working behind the counter. Side note, I had done this exact job when I was in university, so this didn't help. The conversation goes as follows. "What do you mean you don't have my tires?" "I'm sorry, sir. We don't have any more in stock. The bays are filled and our stock is gone." "This is BS. I wanted those tires. How could you sell all of them?" "I'm sorry, sir, but we can't sell you something we don't have. We will be restocked in a couple of days." IC goes on an unholy rant on this poor associate for a good 5 minutes. During this time, I'm just seething for how rude the guy's being and hoping he will calm down. IC continues to look back at the other, looking for support, and then continues to berate this poor person. Now, I'm a very soft-spoken individual. I do not start confrontation unless required, and at this point, I had had enough. I stood up and looked at the guy and said, "Dude, it's the first snowstorm of the year, in Canada. Why would you think there would be any tires left, let alone you being able to get in right away to get them put on?" IC shot daggers at me and said, "Do you work here? Are you his manager? No? Then shut up. This doesn't concern you." My coworker, who was 115 pounds of East Coast fire, got right up in his face and says, "How can you be such an a-hole to someone who's just trying to do their job? Is your life so bad that you need to boss other people around to make you feel better about yourself?" Now, I've never seen a mob mentality before, but it is amazing what happens when someone will call someone out on their BS and how quickly a crowd will jump to defend someone. They just need permission to act. Well, after the 2 to 3 minutes of screaming and shouting with this guy, the store manager was called to deal with the issue. The associate was questioned by the supervisor, and other customers were filling them in on details. I was within earshot of the store manager and IC, and heard this little gem. "All the people are hating me because I'm not white. They're all a bunch of racists and liars." Don't you dare play the race card with me. If I look through the security tapes, will I see a bunch of people ganging up on you because of your skin color? After all was said and done, the man was removed from the store. The store manager came up to my co-workers and I and said, "I appreciate that you guys stuck up for my associates. But because you instigated and elevated the issue, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. But I have a colleague down the street who operates a body shop. Take your truck there and he can get you in and out in 30 minutes. So, that's the tale on the best way and reason I've ever been kicked out of a store. I also hope it shows that if you see someone being rude to a customer, stand up for those people. They make minimum wage and should not have to suffer a-holes who need a power trip. Thanks all, and hope you enjoyed my story." Our next story is titled, "Need a Taxi? Not me, Gov." This is a sort of I don't work here story, but no lady. I'm a musician. I play in function and covers bands, doing weddings, parties, and so on in bars, hotels, pretty well everywhere where people ask us, really. As long as they pay us, and we consider we're likely to survive the experience. As I'm out working late at night, and usually in licensed premises, I encounter a number of drunk/stupid/entitled people along the way. It's par for the course, and they're usually not too much of a problem, but there's always exceptions. One evening, some years ago, I was playing in a function room in North London, where 2 bands booked that night, plus a DJ. Ours was a late finish. We were the final band, and our set began at midnight and ended at 3 in the morning. We played there quite regularly, so we knew the score. The gig itself went fine, and everyone enjoyed themselves. We finished our set and packed up our gear, while the staff began to shoo the customers out and clear up the venue in preparation for closing. As it was the middle of the night, there were few, if any, buses or public transports running. Those who had not arrived in their cars had to find a taxi to take them home. There was always a queue of taxis outside the front doors, plus a scrum of people trying to get into them, as there were never enough cars to go around. There was no queue. It was every man and woman for himself. The door staff did their best to try and keep order, but it was a bit of a melee. By the time we had packed away and were ready to load our kit into our vehicles, most customers had left, leaving stragglers who had not managed to find a taxi. I left my equipment by the door just inside the venue and went to fetch my car from the car park across the street. As I played the bass, I had 2 large speaker cabinets. This was before the days of compact, lightweight bass amplification. 2 flight cases containing my instrument and amplifier, another case full of cables and accessories, plus a couple of lights and part of the PA system. I drove a Volvo Estate, about the only vehicle that would accommodate the amount of stuff I had to transport. I parked outside the front door and went in to collect my stuff. I wheeled the first of my speaker cabs out to find 3 people sitting in my car. I opened the tailgate, lifted the speaker into the vehicle, and asked what they were doing there. "You're a taxi," came the reply. "Take us to Harlesden." "Sorry," I replied. "I'm part of the band. I need to load my equipment. Would you get out of the car, please?" Don't give us that. You're a taxi. Now take us to..." I walked around to the passenger door, looked in, and said, "Listen, mate, take a look at my face. Ring any bells? You've been looking at me up on that stage for the last 3 hours. I'm in the band. Now get out of my car, please." "Don't freaking lie, you idiot. You're a..." Realizing that this was going nowhere, I went to the rear of the car and retrieved the pickaxe handle I keep there for emergencies. I went to the passenger door, opened it, and told my new friends to get out and waved my little friend at them. "For the last time, I'm not a bloody taxi. Now get out, or you'll get this." This had the desired effect. They got out, grumbling, and went back to the front door to wait for a taxi. I continued to load the car, bid good night to the door staff, got in, and started the engine. As I did so, one of the 3 ran to the car. I quickly engaged the central locking. He pulled on the door handle. When it wouldn't open, he wrapped his arms over the roof and around the windscreen on the passenger side, shouting, "Take us to Harlesden, you idiot!" His friends headed towards the car, so I engaged first gear and eased forward. They stopped, but our hero clung on, kicking at the door and yelling. I increased my speed and swerved from side to side in an effort to dislodge him. He clung on, still yelling. He held on until I got to the end of the street, but I managed to throw him off by taking the sharp bend at the end of the road at speed. He fell in a heap in the road and lay there. I didn't bother to stop and find out if he was all right. The Lord watches over drunks and little children. And this is one of the reasons I don't go clubbing. Of course, I'm obviously, not in the UK or in a band or probably handsome or, educated in using a musical instrument or anything like that. But, hey, you take the wins, you take what you can get. For real, though, glad you got out of there safe, OP. It's gotta really make you wonder how hard the actual taxi drivers have it. You can only imagine. Ugh. Moving along, we got time for one more. So, our next story is titled, "Mistaken Identity Leads to Surprise Reunion." I was shopping at a local hardware store, whose staff wear distinctive red t-shirts. I happened to be wearing a t-shirt of the same color, which was emblazoned with my work logo. It was a radio station. I was minding my own business, looking at paint, as I had a few rooms to decorate at home, and get a tap on the shoulder from a frail, yet lovely-sounding old lady, asking me where she can find the sandpaper. I had seen it prior, so I showed her where, all the time thinking, I know her. Anyways, she starts asking me questions about the different grades of sandpaper, etc., and I told her I didn't know much about it and kindly told her I didn't work there. Then it dawned upon me. It had been 25 years since I last saw this lady. She was my favorite primary school teacher when I was 5 years old, and she remembered me. Day made. Was lovely to see her and reminisce. That one is the shortest and the sweetest. Kind of makes you think about what it would be like meeting some of your favorite teachers. I'm obviously not 25 years out of school, but that would be kind of nice. Anyway, with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are all out of time for today. I want to thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Life Stories. It's good to be back. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Reddit content coming your way. Hope you guys are staying safe and hopefully entertained. And my name is Trent, and I hope to see you guys soon.